Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My room is getting emptier and emptier as the days go by as I transition to Seattle. But that is not the topic of today's video. But if you would like to watch me starting to move to Seattle for college, then check out my last video, or not my last video, but the other video I made like 2 videos ago. I started packing for Seattle, and I'm actually going to be going to Seattle tomorrow morning because I have my orientation next week, so I'm so excited. And then I'm going to come back home, but there's going to be so many vlogs of that. I'm so ecstatic and so excited to go that I actually can't sleep because I have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning. So I'm like, why not just film something, or why not just do something? So I wrote down in my journal the other day that I wanted to make a video where I'm explaining my top 10 movies on Letterboxd, and I have not talked about movies yet, which is surprising because I am going to be a film major and I am a filmmaker myself. So I'm going to talk and explain my top 10 movies. So this will be my first movie related video on this channel, and many more to come. If you would like to follow my film channel though, it is Stargirl Films, and I will probably put it in the eye in the corner, and you can check it out, and it's also linked on my profile. Okay, I'm gonna go in backwards order. If you would like to follow my Letterboxd, this is my Letterboxd profile. I watch movies as much as possible whenever I can, and I recently just updated my Letterboxd top 10 because I have a list on my profile of my top 10, and so these are my top 10. The first movie I'm going to be talking about is La Bamba. Okay, with every single movie I talk about, I'm going to be showing you guys or reading to you guys the summary that is given on Letterboxd, and then I'm going to tell you guys why it's in my top 10. So this is my 10th favorite movie of all time. La Bamba, 1987, directed by Luis Valdez. Born into poverty, destined for stardom, he lived the American dream. Los Angeles teenager Richie Valens becomes an overnight rock and roll success in 1958, thanks to a love ballad called Donna that he wrote for his girlfriend. But as his star rises, Valens has conflicts with his jealous brother Bob and becomes haunted by a reoccurring nightmare of plane crash, just as he begins his first national tour alongside Buddy Holly. So in case you have not seen this movie before, La Bamba is a biopic about the late Richie Valens, and if you do not know this about me, because I don't really talk about it much, I absolutely love Richie Valens so much. I have one of his vinyls, which is like one of the only albums he has, and I just love his music so much. His story means so much to me, and this movie means so much to me because I love La Bamba so much. And whenever I talk about why I love, because if anybody ever asks me like what my favorite time of music was, I always say like the 50s and the 60s, because I love the way romance was portrayed in the lyricism in all of the songs, and especially Richie Valens' songs is just so heartfelt and beautiful, and I love his voice. And so it's more so a personal thing, but I also love the movie because the movie made me fall in love even more with Richie Valens and his music and his legacy. And it's so sad because, a little spoiler if you don't know this, Richie Valens died at 16 years old. Richie Valens died at 17 years old in a plane crash, which is crazy because his biggest fear was a plane crash. He would always have reoccurring dreams of plane crashes, and when he was going on tour alongside Buddy Holly, there was a plane crash, and he died, and it was so sad because his life was cut short. La Bamba is my 10th favorite movie, and that is why. It's because I just love Richie Valens so much, and his music, and I just love that time period as well, so that's why I love it. My 9th movie, A Bronx Tale, 1993, directed by Robert De Niro. One man lives in the neighborhood, another man owns it. A devoted father battles the local crime boss for the life of his son. Set in the Bronx during the tumultuous 1960s, an adolescent boy is torn between his honest, working-class father and a violent yet charismatic crime boss. Complicating matters is the youngest growing attraction, forbidden in the neighborhood for a beautiful black girl. I love Robert De Niro so much, by the way. Off topic. I love him so much. How do I even start? I've written an essay on A Bronx Tale, and I'll probably link it down below or in the eye in the corner as well. I wrote an essay about movies that shaped me, and A Bronx Tale is one of them. I really resonate with the quote. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent, and the choices we make can shape our lives forever. I really do believe that, and I talk about that even more in my essay. I'm gonna low-key read off of my essay because this kind of explains why I love the movie so much. I'm just gonna read some parts of my essay that I wrote, and this will explain to you guys why I love A Bronx Tale and why it's in my top 10. I used to hate it when my dad would make me watch certain movies, but I've learned to appreciate them now. I always take the films that are actually good and not affiliated with action or a plot I don't understand personally. A Bronx Tale, a movie in my top 10 of all time, is one I credit to my dad because I wouldn't know it if it weren't for him. He made me watch this movie when I was really young, so I hated it even more. Not the movie, just the act of watching whatever my dad made me watch. Quoting him regarding his film recommendations, "This is a movie you need to watch, it's very important." Now I'm the one making him rewatch it with me because I love it so much. Watching this movie in recent years has really opened me up to the conversation about wasted talent and how often I have been saying this to people. A theme Collagedo's dad, Lorenzo, often reminded his son, "The saddest thing in life is wasted talent." I really do believe in this quote, and I live by it every single day. I try my best to instill into people my age because with the amount of brain rot in our generation, there's just as much talent. My biggest pet peeve is not seeing talented people live up to their greatest potential with the gifts they have been given. And people often think that talent resonates only with the arts, but that's not true at all. I believe that if you take the context Lorenzo says this quote in, you really start to think about what the definition of talent really is, because Colagero isn't a singer or a dancer, nor a painter or a musician. Still, he consistently reminds him that the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And throughout the essay, I go on to talk about what does wasted talent mean, what even is the talent that Collagedo's dad, Lorenzo, was referring to. And I'll read you another part I wrote about what I thought wasted talent meant through this movie. And yeah, as you can tell, if I can write an essay about something, I clearly love it. But this is what I wrote in regards to wasted talent. Everyone will have their own thoughts and opinions, but to me, to be born and endure life as we do, the good but especially the bad, without resorting to what might be easier, such as addiction or death, could be considered a talent. Some synonyms for the word talent are ability, power, and capacity. If we have the power, ability, and capacity to endure life's hardships without resorting to what's easiest, we have a talent. And this makes even more sense considering there's a battle between right and wrong in the film between Lorenzo and Sonny, the mob leader who basically adopted Collagedo, Lorenzo's son. There's a scene in the film where Collagedo is pulled out of the mob bar by his father because he was making extra money in there. His father initially found the money and went downstairs to return it to Sonny. Lorenzo basically said that there's a cost to that kind of money and where it comes from, and he doesn't want his son anywhere near it. Furthermore, we hear Lorenzo say these wise words.
Sonny was right. The worker man he's a sucker, Dad. He's a sucker.
He's wrong. It don't take much strength to pull a trigger, but try and get up every morning, day after day, and work for a living. Let's see him try that. Then we'll see who's the real tough guy. The working man is the tough guy. Your father's the tough guy.
Then I go on to elaborate on that and such and such and such. But yes, as you can tell, A Bronx Tale is one of my favorite movies. I love, if you don't know this about me, I love mob movies. Any kind of movie that loves to do with mobs, I'm for it. I'm here. I'm like oddly educated in mob history, mafia. I don't know why. Oddly educated in parts of it. I'm not like you can ask me questions I'm gonna immediately know the answer, but it's like I just am very interested in mob movies and the history of the mafia. I don't know why, but it's just very interesting to me. And A Bronx Tale is my favorite mob movie out there. And I also just especially love Robert De Niro and Chaz Palminteri. This movie is just so beautiful, and I love the topics that it talks about, and I especially love the message of wasted talent because I really do believe that's true. And I love trying to dissect this movie and figure out where the talent lies within each of the different characters and seeing which characters are actually wasting their talent. And I go on to explain that even more in my essay. The next movie coming at 8th is Project Hail Mary, 2026, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, starring the one and only Ryan Gosling. Believe in the Hail Mary. Science teacher Ryland Grace wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission, solve the riddle of the mystery substance causing the sun to die out. He must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction, but an unexpected friendship means he may not have to do it alone. Context behind this movie as to why I watched it. I read the book Project Hail Mary, and I think I might have talked about it in another video, but I absolutely loved the book 5 stars. I loved it. It was amazing. It was adorable. And so I knew the movie was out, and I've heard of the book for a very long time, but I didn't want to watch the movie until I read the book. So I finished reading the book and then I watched the movie, and I was just absolutely amazed. It was beautiful, and I slowly started to love Ryan Gosling. I realized how much I love Ryan Gosling, which is what led me to end up watching La La Land for the very first time. Yes, I know, I'm a film major and I only watched La La Land recently. I know, okay, leave it alone. However, Project Hail Mary was so good. I'm not gonna spoil what this unexpected friendship is or means, but I'm just gonna say right now, like, the movie brought me to tears. It made me have this appreciation for humanity and the hope that we can place in the correct individuals who are out there to do good for the world, and just like believe in science, guys. Like, I don't know what to say. Believe in science. Like, there's so many people out there who is like so against science, but like, it's science. It's science. There's professionals who study this for a living because it is meant for us to take and learn from. And science is just very important to our world. But watching this movie made me just really appreciate humanity, and it gave me hope in humanity, which is crazy because I have a very hard time with that, especially in this day and age. But watching this movie made me just really appreciate life and the stars, because I'm very close to the stars in my spirituality and even in my name, Star. And this movie really just gave me a whole new like vision and outlook to life, I think. And I feel like when a movie does that to me, that's when it really gets in my top 10. Like, if it's really changed my perspective on things, that's when it really does get in my top 10. And especially if a movie brings me to tears, this movie really did bring me to tears because it was just so beautiful. And what amazingness and wondrous and wonderful things can come out of us not judging a book by its cover and just getting to know whatever lies out there without further judgment initially, and just trying to get to know one another, even if we're aliens, you know what I mean? And I think that's what matters most, is learning about people on the inside as well, because that's what I really took away from this movie. Because there's a lot of characters who come off a certain way, and also what I read from the book, there's a lot of characters who come off a certain way, may look a certain way, may act a certain way in the front, but deep down they have this inner desire to help. They have this inner desire for many different things. Like, if you read the book, the person who ends up sending Dr. Grace on this mission is a woman who actually wanted to be I forgot, but she wanted to be in another career path, but now she's in this scientific career path and has to tell people that they need to go to space and die to save the world. You know what I mean? And she has that inner desire within her, but you would have never guessed that on the forefront because she's very nonchalant and stoic. For Riley and Grace, you may never had assumed that he has this inner need to go back home, and that he does believe in life and, you know, being happy, you know what I mean? Because initially he's very like turned down by a lot of things. He takes rejection very personally, but he does really believe that even though he does go to the Hail Mary and is told that he is gonna die there because of all these sort of things, and he acts initially like, I've come to accept it, I've come to embrace it, you know, I am gonna die out here, that's just the reality of this mission. He really does open up more when he realizes that he can finally go home because of the friend he makes. And he opens up about how he really didn't want to die, you know what I mean? There's so much life out there. And then with the friendship, there's also another topic of not judging a book by its cover, and what we as a humanity and a society and as a solar system and the different lives that live out there beyond our universe can have, and how we all are tied back together under one thing, which is our heart and our humanity and what we are. Because I believe humanity is within everything, even in animals and such like that. It's just like their ability to feel is a part of their humanity. And like I said, this movie just really gave me a better outlook on life, and it made me just realize how beautiful and amazing the world is. And I love Ryan Gosling. So coming at 7th place in my top 10 movies is the 1986, directed by Rob Reiner, Stand By Me. If I could only have one food to eat for the rest of my life, that's easy. Pez. Cherry flavor Pez. No question about it. After learning that a boy their age has been accidentally killed near their rural homes, 4 boys decide to go to see the body. Gordy, Vern, Chris, and Teddy encounter a mean junk man and a marsh full of leeches, but they also learn more about one another and their very different home lives. Just a lark at first, the boys' adventure evolves into a defining event in their lives. Goodness, where do I even start with this? This is another movie that my dad recommended to me a few years back, and ever since I've just loved it. I've loved it, and it stayed with me so much. And I have yet to read the actual book because it is based off of Stephen King's The Body, and I really want to read that book because I just remembered that it's a book, and I saw it in Barnes and Nobles the other day, but I told myself I wouldn't buy more books. So when I'm in Seattle, hopefully I'll remember and eventually get that book. But you guys don't understand, I'm just a sucker for coming of age. Every single movie you're gonna watch of mine is coming of age. I'm just telling you that. And I love this movie, and I love this movie in the ways that I haven't seen other people talk about, and I love this movie in the way it represents masculinity. And obviously I'm not a man, I'm still figuring myself out, but I love the way this movie represents masculinity because I remember I would watch this movie and then everyone would say that Gordy and Chris were like dating, or they had this little liking toward another, and that if they lived in a different time period they would have been dating. And this is just my personal opinion on this movie. I think I'm not the believer that we shouldn't normalize sexuality. I mean, I'm also gay myself, but I don't think we should be worrying at all about sexuality in regards to kids. And I say this in regards to queer sexualities, and I say this in regard to straight sexuality. Romance as a whole should not be a concern in regards to kids, but on top of this, I think when we put this idea that men being close and intimate with one another and allowing each other to cry and the act of comforting one another gives us this idea that men can't do that without it being a romantic situation, and that is what often makes men so toxically masculine, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it's a girl problem, I'm not saying any kind of sort of thing. Men definitely put this on themselves, like that's that's definitely very much true. But I don't like when people ship Gordy and Chris like that, because I feel like it just takes away from the intimacy that friendship can be, and gender not defining that, and the gender not defining what the friendship actually is. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's scenes in the movie where Gordy is, you know, crying and stuff like that, and Chris is being an amazing friend to him and saying, Gordy, if I was your dad, I would have totally supported you. I don't know why your dad doesn't, but I like, you know, he's showing his support in regards to Gordy's writing because Gordy's a writer. And then there's one time when Chris explains, and he's crying as well, and is explaining how nobody likes him at home, you know, like everyone just affiliates him with how bad his brother is, all this sort of thing. And then Gordy is comforting him. And as we know, when men become toxically masculine, they think crying is so pussy, they think it's so weak, and oh my god, I'm such a baby. But it's not. And I don't like this idea that when they're comforting each other, people want to take it as romantic. I think whether people are comforting one another, no matter your gender, sexuality, identity, if they are children, we do not need to affiliate it with romance. We do not need to affiliate it with romance whatsoever. Whether they're a guy and a girl, whether they're a girl and a girl, whether they're a person and a person, whether they're a guy and a guy. I don't think we need to affiliate any sort of intimacy that we share in friendships, especially in regards to minors, as romantic in any sort of way. That's just my personal opinion, and I personally believe that Gordy and Chris just have an amazing friendship, and I don't think it needs to be more than that just because it's not normal, or not normal to other people that guys would be good friends like that to one another. That is just a little side note and little social commentary on my part, but that is my personal belief. I just love Stand By Me because of the beauty of their friendship, and I also really appreciate this movie because I miss this period of time when kids would go out do something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just so bored at home. And this is obviously way before technology, because obviously they don't have phones, you know, they're not like going on social media and all this kind of stuff. But I miss times when kids would go out, like they'd be so bored and be like, I want to go play outside. You know what I mean? And it's like things like this, because I've only heard stories from my dad. My dad, he has gone on so many adventures when he was a kid, because he didn't, you know, obviously he didn't grow up with technology like that, you know what I'm saying? So he would walk all the way from Pololo to Waikiki. He would climb up mango trees and get stuff. He jumped off a roof. You know what I mean? All these sort of things. Like, okay, that sounds crazy, but he is he be doing stuff like that, and he did those things when he was younger, because like there's just nothing to do. And I just love the beauty of when kids would go outside. Like the other day I was driving back home and I saw these two kids riding their bike outside, and I just told my mom, I was like, I love seeing kids play outside. Like I love that for them, because so many kids are just on their iPads, like Coco Melon, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I love when I see kids actually outside, you know, getting some vitamin D in their system, because, you know, they need it, and they need to experience the beauty of nature and understand the power in it, and how much better they're gonna grow if they just see the actual world for what it is and not behind a screen. So, yeah, as you can tell, I love Stand By Me. Coming at 6th place in my top 10 is the 1996, directed by Lana Wachowski and Lily Wachowski, Bound. For money, for murder, for each other. Corky, a tough female ex-convict working on an apartment renovation in a Chicago building, meets a couple living next door. Caesar, a paranoid mobster, and Violet, his seductive girlfriend, who is immediately attracted to her. Where do I even begin with this one? I only watched this movie the other night, actually. I only watched this movie 2 nights ago, and I watched it twice in a day, because I watched it by myself and then I watched it with my mom. And like I mentioned, I love mob movies, and when it's a romantic mob movie, count me in. When it's a gay mob movie, babes, I'm in. I'm in. And I've heard of this movie for a very long time, but I hadn't watched it until recently, because I was like, I need to watch Bound. Like, I don't know, I just had a revelation and was like, I need to watch the movie. So I rented it, and my life has changed forever. The plot, not even in regards to sexuality, the plot is so good. It's so good. I was talking to my roommate, because we were texting about movies, and I mentioned why I love Bound so much, because it shows queer intimacy, but it's not like exploited. You get what I'm saying? Like, the queer intimacy between Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon is just so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and they represented it so well, even if they're not gay themselves. And from what I heard, Gina Gershon was told by her managers that she would never get another role if she played this lesbian role, but then she did it anyway. And I was like, yeah. Yeah, and now this is why I'm gay. This movie was just so good, and like, me being a mob movie girl, me being a mob movie person, I ate this up. Like, in that moment, okay, spoiler, when Violet was calling Corky, and she was like, Violet, I need to tell you something, and then Corky puts her hand on the wall and is like, I know, that's why I'm still here. Guys, I'm red. I'm literally turning red. Immediately attracted to both of them. It was just so amazing. Like, I am so disappointed that I waited so long to watch this movie, and I finally did. And Jennifer Tilly, Gina Gershon, bro, like, please let me be your child, thank you. Now we've come to the top 5. Coming at number 5 is the 2014, directed by Simon J. Smith and Eric Darnell, Penguins of Madagascar. The movie event that will blow their cover. Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and Private join forces with undercover organization the Northwind to stop the villainous Dr. Octavius Brine from destroying the world as we know it. I recently rewatched Penguins of Madagascar, and I did not realize how freaking hilarious it is, okay? Because I watched this as a kid, and I actually watched it in theaters when it first came out when I was much younger. And obviously I loved it. It was an animated movie, so I was like, oh cool, an animated movie, yay! But then I watched it again recently and I was like, this is so funny. It's like peak comedy actually, because I was watching it and the times when Skipper would try to say Dave's name, he would just say every other name with a D and be like, my favorite one is Debbie, when Dave calls that spy agency thing with the wolf and he's like Debbie, and then Kowalski's just always like Dave, you know what I'm saying? Wait, is it Kowalski? It's Kowalski. The Kowalski's the smart one, right? I don't know. I remember crying to it when I was much younger because I just felt for Private so bad. I was like, Private, why are you so looked over? But I love this movie so much, and the humor is just so funny. Even the time when they were in Shanghai and then Kowalski calculates that they're in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, and they start doing the Irish jig, and then they find out, oh, Dave's gonna go to the Shanghai zoo to get more of the penguins. Skipper's like, we gotta ship ourselves, or they end up putting themselves in a box to be shipped to Shanghai, and then they come back in 2 seconds because they're already in Shanghai. But then for some reason Kowalski calculated that they're in Dublin, Ireland, and then when they come out the box, Skipper's like, okay, Shanghai's little Dublin town. It was just so funny, and I was like, this is so funny. Oh my goodness, there's so much funny stuff. When Skipper first meets Classified, that's what they call him, we don't actually know his name, and he's like, what's your name? When he's asking the wolf what's his name, he's like, that's Classified. He's like,
and you are?
My name is Classified.
Classified, eh? What is that, Dutch? Can't really hear the accent.
Excuse me?
There's the accent.
No, my name isn't Classified.
I don't know, it was just so hilarious. But then my favorite one, I cracked up at the end of the movie.
This is difficult for me to say.
Is it osteoporosis? You just gotta lean into the vowel. Osteo.
I was cracking up. I know this sounds so dorky, but this is just my humor, guys. I don't know. This is my humor, okay? That's why I said number 5 for me. Coming at 4th in my top 10 movies of all time is a 2016 film directed by Naoko Yamada, which is A Silent Voice. Sometimes the answer is as simple as learning to listen. Shoya Ishimura starts bullying the new girl in class, Shoko Nishimura, because she is deaf. But as the teasing continues, the rest of the class starts to turn on Shoya for his lack of compassion. When they leave elementary school, Shoko and Shoya do not speak to each other again, until an older, wiser Shoya, tormented by his past behavior, decides he must see Shoko for once more. He wants to atone for his sins, but is it already too late? This is a one-of-a-kind movie because most of the time I relate to it. And that's why I love it so much. It's such a heavy topic movie, but this is a once in a kind. This is a once in a lifetime movie, in my opinion, because I don't see a lot of movies where the villain is actually becomes better. We don't get a redemption arc from the villain's perspective. You get what I'm saying? Usually we'll see the villain become nicer and nicer, but we don't actually get it from the villain's perspective. The villain, I say. And so it's really interesting how he goes from bullying her and then he really does learn to change. You know what I mean? We don't, and I think it's a really controversial topic. The actual theme of this movie in the terms of forgiving people for things that they've done, even if it was traumatizing to you, you know what I mean? They can possibly turn out to change and learn from their mistakes. And so it's a controversial topic that really is to everybody's own. If somebody bullied you and, pulled out your freaking hearing aids and made your ears bleed, that is up to you if you want to forgive them in the future. That is up to you. But like he really did grow as a person, and obviously he ends up being forgiven. But it's just really interesting the way the dynamic is played out, and it's really interesting how the plot of the story and his arc happens. And I just think it's so interesting, and I don't have a firm opinion on it of like whether I'd forgive him or not, but it's like it gives you an understanding of both perspectives, because for most of the part you don't want to sympathize with him because like he freaking pulled out her hearing aid, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell he really did change in the end. And in regards to whether I would have forgiven him or not, I honestly don't know, because that's like if someone ripped my diabetes pot off, you know what I mean? But I really love the way that this is such a unique perspective, because we rarely see a perspective like this, because we're supposed to hate Ishida, you know what I mean? That's how the movie starts, because it's like he's freaking tormenting this girl, you know what I mean? Like, and for something she can't control, you know? You really start to sympathize with him eventually, and it's like you kind of sometimes feel that guilty feeling of like, but he did such a shitty thing, you know what I mean? So that's why I say it's really to each their own of who would forgive and who wouldn't, you know what I mean? But I think it's just a really unique movie that opens up a conversation like that should be had in regards to what things we forgive and what things we wouldn't forgive, and whether we would actually give people a second chance based off of what they did or what they didn't do, and all these kinds of things. And I think I love movies that open up topics of conversation like that. Coming at number 3 it's 2026, directed by Haley Kiyoko. Girls Like Girls. Saw your face, heard your name, gotta get with you. Girls like boys do, nothing new. I watched this movie with my mom. I mean, I talked about it in my last video where I was moving, because I asked my mom, like, what do you think about the Girls Like Girls movie? And she was like, I loved it. And my mom really did love it. We walked to the theater and she was like, that was so good. And I was like, yeah, of course it was. And so anyways, love begins when you let it in. Coley, 17, from rural Oregon, navigates intimacy after her mother's passing. Meeting Sonia sparks new feelings, but self-doubt hinders their connection. Sonia, unfamiliar with dating girls, is uncertain. They learn to embrace emotions. I can't really explain the things I realized about myself after watching this movie. And so in a way I feel so connected to this movie, and it's really opened my eyes up to the love I can experience when I'm being true to who I am and being true to what I really want in a relationship. And the movie just, I love it so much. And Sonia and Coley are so beautiful. Like, they are so beautiful. And I just, also on top of that, the Asian representation, I love to see it. You guys know I'm big on Polynesian representation, but so when I see representation for any kind of community that deserves it, because every single community deserves representation, I love to see it. And it is just such a beautiful romance, and their intimacy and their acting in regards to the intimacy is just so amazing. And I just love seeing gentle queer love and it not being exploited and not being super intense. And like, I love the passion and the intensity of passion and intimacy. And that is why I love this movie so much, because we definitely need more movies where queer joy is celebrated and we don't just get the pains of being queer. And though that is very prevalent and very important to talk about and address, because that is very normal, and a huge problem in our society is the prejudice against queer people, but we still deserve to see queer joy, and especially in movies and film, because that is, again, what develops our subconscious brain in regards to our stereotypes and our thoughts in regards to things such as race, sexuality, religion, all these sorts of things. And so seeing queer joy like this, it can really inspire someone, and whoever is in the future generations will be much more comforted, feeling comfortable with their sexuality, because before, being queer and queer movies were very whoa, you know what I mean? And though the community is very much still going through a lot, and always has been, and unfortunately still continues to be, we still get these opportunities to have queer joy like this and take a break from the realities of it all by watching such a beautiful movie like this. And it really took me away and made me realize how happy I can be, and that's why I love this movie so much, and that is why it is at my number 3. Number 2 is the 2007, directed by Stephen J. Anderson, Meet the Robinsons. Meet the Robinsons. If you think your family's different, wait till you meet the family of the future. Louis, a brilliant young inventor, is keen on creating a time machine to find his mother, who abandoned him in an orphanage. Things take a turn when he meets Wilbur Robinson and his family. The first thing I have to say about this movie is if you were born in like 2008, I cannot believe so many of you guys have not seen this movie. There's like so many people I've asked my age, and when I was in high school, I would ask people like, have you guys watched the Robinsons? You know, thinking they'd say yes. And they were like, no, what is that? And I'm like, pardon? Like, what do you mean, what is that? Like, and I searched it up and I was like, this is 2007. It's not far from our generation at all. Like, you guys make me feel like I'm old or something, and I'm not. Like, this is our generation. Like, this would be our movie of our generation, you know what I'm saying? But I've come to learn that many people my age have not watched Meet the Robinsons, which is insane. So when I tell them the lore about how, well, there's this boy who meets this other boy and then he takes him back to the future because he needs to fix his time machine, but then this boy who takes him back actually ends up being his son in the future, but he doesn't know this. But he doesn't know that if he doesn't go back and fix the time machine, then he's never going to end up having a son and never having the wife that he ends up having. And the fact that the wife ended up being the girl at the science fair, and that the people who adopted him ended up being the teachers at the science fair, and all these sorts of different things and all these little details. I just, Meet the Robinsons is another movie where it's like it's one of a kind. Like, it's so unique, and the message of keep moving forward sounds so generic and so cliche, but I love it. I love it so much. And just like the realities of things that could happen if we just keep moving forward, you know what I'm saying? It is just such amazing storytelling, in my opinion. Like, the way it's his son who comes back and saves him and tells him, you gotta fix this time machine or I'm not gonna exist, or all of this is not gonna be real, because if you don't fix that time machine, you wouldn't have invented all of this amazing stuff, you know what I mean? Because at the time, Cornelius, or Lewis, doesn't see his potential, you know what I'm saying? Family aspect and the way it all ties together and becomes this insane plot twist is just amazing. I can't even explain how much I love Meet the Robinsons. It is so good, and that is why it is at my top 2. Coming in at first place is the 2012, directed by Steven Chbosky, I think, is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I know, if you're a film major, you're gonna be like, oh my god, you're so basic. Okay, so I've heard. And guess what? I don't care. If a movie saved me from dying, I don't think I would be one to judge someone for having it as the rated movie of all time. I cannot explain to you what this movie did to me. I watched it in my freshman year when I was in the exact same position as Charlie, and it changed my life. Like, I know that sounds insane, and that's why people are like, this is such a basic movie, but I don't care, okay? It's my favorite movie of all time because I resonate with so many of the characters, and the specific characters I resonate with is Charlie and Patrick. I resonate with them so much. I feel like I'm Charlie on the inside, and then Patrick sometimes on the outside, but then also somewhat Charlie on the outside as well. And this movie, I always say, is the perfect coming of age movie. Like, if you need an example of what a coming of age movie should be like and should end up like and have the effect on the audience like, it should be The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's an amazing example of what a coming of age movie should have and entail, and what it should push out and emanate toward the audience. And I think it is just so amazing because there's such a variety of characters that I feel like at least one person can relate to at least one of them, you know, even if it feels like a niche character or a main character. Like, I think that's what makes it so beautiful, is when there's such an array of characters that people can find themselves in. That is why I love movies so much. And I also made an essay about this movie as well, and how this movie made me realize the beauty of life and the way I should look out at life. But the description for this movie is, We Are Infinite. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 1991, high school freshman Charlie is a wallflower, always watching life from the sidelines until two senior students, Sam and her stepbrother Patrick, become his mentors, helping him discover the joys of friendship, music, and love. I wrote an essay called Cinephile on my Substack, and one of the movies that I referenced is The Perks of Being a Wallflower because it is my favorite movie. And I'm gonna read you guys some stuff from it and the lessons that I've learned from it through my essay. This is what I wrote. Of all the films I've watched, one has stayed with me more than any other: The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's the most realistic high school coming of age film I've seen, and almost everyone can relate to at least one character. I relate to Charlie in every aspect of his life. I first watched this film in my freshman year, so you can understand why I connected so deeply. High school has been difficult in its own way, complicated, sometimes beautiful ways, which only deepened my comfort with Charlie. We share hobbies, interests, and habits: writing, loving good music, and trying to hide the parts of ourselves we fear others would reject. We share the same fear about how our parents would react if they knew we were struggling. For the longest time, I never thought I'd escape that negative cycle. There were moments when I prayed I would die before graduating because I couldn't imagine how much harder life would get afterward. But now, as a senior, looking at the whole arc of Charlie's story, I asked myself, if I love the theme of that movie and see myself in him, could that be the theme of my life too? Doesn't that make my life equally beautiful? The meaning behind what I asked myself is, if you interpret life as a movie, okay? Listen. Example. Take your life as a movie, okay? Think about all the hard moments that happened, okay? And think about all the good moments that happened, and think about what those good moments would mean if the bad moments didn't happen. They wouldn't really have much meaning or significance, you get what I'm saying? Because you didn't get that overcoming of those hard situations. And when we watch a movie, if you were to take out all the bad and negative parts of a movie, there would be no plot. There would be no plot. That's Mean Girls if they were not mean. You know what I mean? Like, there is absolutely no plot to a life. There's absolutely no plot to a movie or a book or any kind of story if not for the pain and the heartache that the characters must endure. You know what I'm saying? And so that applies to how I see my life, and I wouldn't have learned that through any other movie, and I hadn't learned that until I watched this movie, because I related so much to Charlie and Patrick that I was like, if I love this movie and think it's beautiful, but I relate to so much of these characters literally based off of their literal experiences that they went through, then that must mean my life is meant to come out as beautiful as well, because theirs did too, and the things that they went through ended up making their lives beautiful. So that means there's hope for me. And I think that is just the power that movies and the arts and storytelling has on a person, and I think that is why it is so important and very, 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 very important for every single person to be represented. And that is why I'm going into film myself, and why the movies like this mean so much to me. And that is just why I love The Perks of Being a Wallflower so much, because of the lessons it has taught me as a person, and the ways that we can view life, and just as a whole, my outlook on life now. And I would owe all of my joy and happiness to this movie, and me not letting all the pain get to me as badly, because in the end, Charlie was happy. You know, he was content, and that's all I ever yearned for. You know what I mean? And if he can get there, I can get there. I know it sounds like it's just a movie, it's fake, you know what I mean? But the truth is, this is someone's actual life. Every single movie, every single story is a part of someone's life, whether we think it's fictional or not. It is very much connected to at least one person in the world, and this story connects to me because I resonate with Charlie. This is my life. This is my life. Patrick is my life as well. And so if his life resulted so well, then that must mean my life will result well as well. And that is why I just love movies, and I love the power of movies and how it can connect us like that. That is why The Perks of Being a Wallflower is at my number one. But yes, guys, that is my top 10 movies on Letterboxd. Who knows if it'll change? We'll see in like 5 years or so. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your guys' top 10 movies in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on these movies. I would love to hear it. And let me know what other content in regards to movies you guys would like me to make. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!